Let's talk about Chelsea, Ali. And after a nearly heroic result, but certainly a heroic performance at Real Madrid, the bottom line is they're out the Champions League. So I want to talk about consistency or lack of consistency from Chelsea going forward and what we can expect from them, because they lose heavily at home to Brentford. They go and thump Southampton 6-0. They produce a phenomenal performance in the Spanish capital. What can Chelsea fans expect going forward? Which Chelsea side can they expect going forward, do you think?
Well, isn't that a question that everybody wants to know? Certainly, if you're involved with Chelsea in any way. If you're a fan, you don't know what to expect. If you're Thomas Tuchel, you don't know what to expect. It was only less than a couple of weeks ago when Thomas Tuchel, after they had lost to Real Madrid, in which he was saying, I don't know. I don't think we're good enough to advance. We're turning the page on Champions League, which I thought was a message to his players. All he wanted to do was get their attention. And he did that. They go to Southampton and they play in the manner in which they did. They were explosive. Then they go to Madrid and they played in the manner in which they did, which then begs the question, where has this been? So it's not a lack of talent with Chelsea, but certainly a lack of continuity, a lack of consistency, a lack of productivity in moments that matter. And let's not forget that when we consider Chelsea and we evaluate their season is within the context of where are they in the league and what are they doing in Champions League? Well, Champions League, gone. So now we turn our attention to what are they doing in the league? Well, they're nowhere near the title race, and they were supposed to be contenders this season. So then you begin to kind of whittle down the conversation, and then it kind of becomes difficult to make a case for a successful season. I don't think that has been the case for Chelsea at all. I think this is a team that has been underwhelming and has underperformed.
Every player and every team suffers from inconsistency. It's impossible to be at your best every single week. How can Chelsea become less inconsistent and more consistent so that perhaps next season they have a chance of being in the race for the title over 38 games?
Well, first they have to figure out what's going on with the club. So the situation for the club outside of the field, off the field situation, the sale of the club, how does that transition happen? Who's making decisions? What is the future of the club? What are the financial implications of the sale of the club, and how does that affect acquiring players as well as selling players? There's a lot of decisions to be made for Chelsea going forward, and you have this with the backdrop of having what was a very disappointing Premier League season, but also a disappointing exit from Champions League, because as good as they may have been on the second leg, the game was there for Chelsea to win it and advance. At 3-0, they looked like they were flying. They looked like they were closer to 4-0 than Real Madrid was ever getting back into the game. And Chelsea, much like they have done over the course of the whole year, they allow certain things to creep in moments that are critical. And they're unable to see the game out, unable to then advance, unable to generate momentum in a season that has been disappointing. And this would have been a way of them kind of turning the corner and perhaps potentially go on and defend their Champions League title. Well, now that's off the table. And it's just a microcosm of who they have been. They show you for moments that they're going to be great, and then other moments in which you go, nope, not quite good enough. That is what's going on the field. But as I said earlier, you got to figure out what's going on off the field before you concern yourself with what the future of Chelsea is in trying to contend for something other than what they're doing currently.
Given their last 4 results, Ali, how easy or how difficult is it to predict what's going to happen this weekend in their FA Cup semi-final against Palace?
Well, the most difficult part for Chelsea is not going to be the consistency or lack thereof that we have seen over the last month, is how they're able to get up on the high of nearly advancing against Real Madrid, then the low of not advancing and being eliminated, and then having to be able to recreate some sort of performance, to put together some sort of energy. So there's going to be a challenge psychologically, there's going to be a challenge physically, having played the 120 minutes, and then that that cloud that just hangs over your head and thinking, we could have had something special. Now we don't. And somehow we have to create something special today against Crystal Palace. That mentality is going to be tested, and the character of Chelsea is going to be tested. And as we have seen over the course of the season, sometimes when they're challenged, Chelsea are unable to come up with the goods, and they're unable to come up with the performance. But this is really the one competition that they have available. So you might as well put everything you have into it. And maybe, just maybe, not only do you advance, but you give yourself an opportunity to win a title.
I don't think application is the issue. It's just a case of which Chelsea is going to show up. And with that, is there a specific position on the field that you feel Chelsea need to strengthen that could take them from the level they're at right now, which is excellent but inconsistent, to the next level?
Well, that position was supposed to be filled by Romelu Lukaku. And we all know how that's worked or not worked from whatever point of view you look at it. So that's a big question. In terms of what the future of Chelsea, what is the future of Lukaku as well? A player that simply has not delivered in the manner in which they thought they would have in terms of him scoring goals. That hasn't been the case. In terms of performances, that hasn't been the case. But let's put Lukaku aside because he's an easy target and has become an easy target, or easier target as the season has gone on. In general terms, when you look at Chelsea, a year ago, Jorginho was a problem solver. He was everybody's sexy pick for Ballon d'Or because he had won Champions League with Chelsea and then had won the Euros with Italy. Well, only one issue. Now he's a part-time starter. So who is it that's going to play there in the middle of midfield, at the core of their group? Who is it that is going to give this team the pace that it requires in order to play offensively and defensively? If it's not Jorginho, then where is that player going to come from? It's a decision that is going to have to be made, because I don't know that they've actually trusted Kovacic to be that guy either. And so, to me, right there, middle of midfield, the engine of the team that at times can give you the personality of the team and the consistency that is required. You need to be consistent in that position if you're going to try to find consistency throughout the whole rest of the field.
You think Chelsea reach the FA Cup final this weekend?
They do, but they're not going to win it. Whoever they run into in the final is going to be better than they are.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.